What is up, everybody? I hope you're all having a great day out there today. We're back with part 8 of my Ken Kratz book review. This one is entitled The Bullet. It's chapter 8 of Ken Kratz's book. Of course, what I'm doing, if you're unfamiliar, is I'm going over the book, comparing it to things we've learned in the documentary and things we've learned since both have come out. It's a very interesting way to compare things. And just because I'm reading the book and talking about it in this video does not mean I believe what Ken Kratz is saying. I just want to throw that out there just so there's no confusion. Part 8 is titled The Bullet. He starts out by saying Mark Weirgert and Thomas Fassbender are his two favorite officers. Gee, I wonder why. Partners in crime, right? Best buds. Allegedly. Ken Kratz states he'd never had considered the garage to be the primary murder scene. My question is, why not? You think you would have looked everywhere for everything right away. If there's a big garage that looks like his garage does, especially on the inside, why wouldn't you consider that from the beginning to be a possible primary place that this crime could have happened? Why wait until March of 2006 after you got a coerced statement from Brendan Dassey to consider the garage as a primary place where this crime allegedly took place? That's pretty weird. That's not very good police work, not very good detective work. It's not like the places were far apart. They were like right next to each other. Ridiculous. This part's weird, funny / weird. He states Stephen's garage was filled with shit such as tools, gas cans, lawnmowers, painting supplies, etc. You know, what people generally store in their garage: their tools, their paint supplies, their lawnmower. Where do you store your lawnmower, Ken Kratz? Is your lawnmower in your living room? Is your paint supplies in your bedroom? Are your tools in the bathroom? Where do you think people keep their stuff? Keep their... So stupid. Remember, there was no blood present in Stephen Avery's garage. He stated that nobody would testify that human blood was found in Stephen Avery's garage. A DCI investigator testified that the first bullet fragment was found in a crack in the garage floor, but that bullet had no DNA on it and they could not match it to any gun. The second bullet, they state, was a bit different. The second bullet was found under an air compressor in the back of the garage, and the bullet itself was almost intact, and it had DNA on it, and allegedly it had Teresa Halbach's DNA on it. Bill Newhouse, a state crime lab firearms expert, stated it was fired from Stephen Avery's rifle, the one that was hanging above his bed. Ken Kratz says the defense argued that the bullet was planted, even though the gun was already locked up at the state crime lab. Ken Kratz states the defense said they picked up the bullet somewhere in the yard and planted it. Because the Avery family, they were or at least Stephen, were gun enthusiasts. They shot guns on their property all the time, so there were bullets everywhere. And the defense is right. They could have found those bullets anywhere, picked one up, and planted it. It's pretty easy. But hear me out for a second. Just live in this world of fiction with me for a minute. Let's just say that everything Ken Kratz says in his book is true. I know. Just bear with me. Let's just say Ken Kratz is 100% correct. Stephen Avery's guilty. He did it. Everything in his book is true. He's still writing a book on how to frame somebody for murder. He is explaining to you everything you need to do to frame somebody. I find that, I know I mention this in every video, but I figured he would. I'm in chapter 8. I figured it would have stopped by now, but I guess this is going to be a running theme throughout the book. I understand he's explaining what the defense says happened, but this is a book the case against Stephen Avery and what making a murderer got wrong. Ken Kratz is still explaining everything you need to do, allegedly, to frame somebody for murder. Sherry Coolhan matched the DNA on the bullet with a pap smear of Teresa Halbach's, stating that the DNA on the bullet was Teresa Halbach. So she used a previous pap smear from Teresa Halbach that was on file somewhere and matched it to the bullet, matched to the DNA on the bullet, allegedly, and stated that the DNA on the bullet was indeed Teresa Halbach's. But remember, this is the same woman that introduced her own DNA into the controlled substance by accident, and they couldn't do a retest of it because of how small the DNA was on the bullet that they found. So the DNA on the bullet was microscopic. It was a very small amount. And because she ruined the test, they couldn't retest it. That's pretty convenient. Oh, sorry, there's not enough left. We ruined the test, but you'll have to take word that Teresa Halbach's DNA is on it. You can't do your own test. It was ruined. There's none left. It's convenient. On October 10th, it was stated that Stephen Avery greeted Teresa Halbach at his door in a towel. They talk about how they said that Stephen Avery perhaps came from a swim in his pool, but the temperature on that day probably wouldn't allow for it. I mean, maybe he wanted to go for a cool swim. I don't know. But the more easy explanation for that is that Stephen Avery had just gotten out of the shower. You get out of the shower, you put a towel on, the door rings. He didn't answer the door naked. If he answered the door naked, that's one thing. But he had a towel on. Like, I don't know. Has nobody ever been in a rush and answered the door in a robe or a towel or anything of that nature? It's pretty easy to explain. Should he have answered the door to a photographer in his towel? No, probably not. However, there's nothing criminal about it. That doesn't mean you're going to murder the person later because you open the door in a towel. There's nothing criminal about that. I don't know. But that's chapter 8. Chapter 9 is called The Accomplice, and we will be doing that soon. Hope everyone out there is having a great day. I got some shows coming up this weekend and next weekend, wrestling shows. Again, this channel, until recently, was primarily a wrestling channel, and there just has been very little wrestling on it recently because of everything that's gone on in the world over the past year. The local scene in my area was shut down. I film a lot of the local shows, so there will be more wrestling coming back on the channel as well. But again, I hope everyone out there is having a great day. I'll see you again soon.